MPs have been at Queen's Park since 5 o'clock this morning to fast-track legislation that would ban strike action and impose a contract on CUPE workers using the notwithstanding clause.
Why they are content with an offer that is going to continue to force workers to go to food banks to feed their children.
Mr. Speaker, we have made clear in this offer we'll be increasing pay every single year over the course of the 4-year program.
Support staff are preparing to walk off the job anyway on Friday. Some students and parents are being told to prepare for school closures. For more this morning, we are joined by Ontario Education Minister Stephen Lecce. Good morning to you, Minister.
Good morning.
The bill you tabled bans strike action and imposes a contract on 55,000 education support staff workers in Ontario. CUPE has called this a nuclear option and overreach, and the way in which the contract was delivered using the notwithstanding clause was not a negotiation. What's your response?
Well, look, I want to say that it's very regrettable that we're even in this position, that we have to introduce legislation because CUPE decided on Sunday to announce and confirm a strike on Friday of this week. They announced their 5-day strike notice. I thought that was very unfair to these kids who just established good routines in our schools. They're catching up. We've expanded tutoring supports and really put an emphasis on getting back to normal. And so to hear the union confirm a strike was quite unsettling for a lot of families out there, which is why the government said on Sunday, we called them in and said, look, we're going to increase our offer to you. We're going to offer 10% over 4 years, maintain the best benefits and pension and 131 paid sick leave days in the country. And the union said, no, we will not withdraw our 5-day strike notice. And so the government has acted on Monday, yesterday, when we introduced the bill. Why did we do that yesterday? Because if we didn't, it wouldn't have been passed by Thursday, which would avert a strike on Friday. So we're only in this position because the union's confirmed a strike that is, frankly, entirely unacceptable after the massive learning loss and the great disruption these kids have faced. And so I think it's important the government says enough, that we're going to stand up to keep these kids in school.
CUPE says that its members intend to walk off the job anyway on Friday in a day of protests, and that will force some schools to close. If your government's goal is to keep kids in school, what's the compromise you need to reach?
Well, obviously, the first principle is the union needs to withdraw the strike mandate and rather the commitment to strike on Friday. Would be a really good faith move because there's no tolerance for a strike. We have school boards, including TDSB, have confirmed they will close Friday as a consequence of that strike by CUPE, legal or illegal, should the law pass on Thursday. I just think, when you think about, Anne-Marie, that the consequences of the pandemic, and keeping in mind that we just had strikes by these education unions about 2 or 3 years ago, when you speak to sick kids about the learning, about the mental health, the harm ideation, the anxiety, the stress, the eating disorders that are exploding at a level we've never seen before, astronomical numbers. And the fact that EQAO confirmed what every mom and dad knew in Ontario, that their kid is falling behind. I mean, is it not the moral obligation of government to simply say these kids have a right to be in school, that we finally got them back? And I think they need to stay there. And so, yes, we'll continue to negotiate with any willing partner, but you've got to be willing and you've got to commit to not strike and impose hardship on children. And I don't think that's an unreasonable demand.
So
I actually came to the table Sunday with more money, and they still want, as you know, a 33% increase in salary and a roughly 50% increase in total in compensation. And I would argue that's obviously unfair and unreasonable to the taxpayer when it would cost $19 billion when we apply it sector-wide.
Minister, that's the compromise you want them to make, is to remove the strike action. But I asked what is the compromise the government is willing to make in order to keep kids in school so we can get past this impasse.
Sure. Well, and I'm pointing to Sunday when I reached out to them in response to their decision to strike, that we were going to offer them a better deal. The union has never really changed their offer to the government. It remains a 33% increase over 3 years, 11% every year, plus other compensation elements that bring it to just around 50%. So the ball is in their court. As I mentioned, they had an opportunity to avoid this legislation should they have rescinded their commitment to strike, but they didn't. And I'm not going to be a bystander. The government is not just going to hope for the best, hope that the union comes down on their astronomical demands. We're going to introduce legislation and send a signal that we will act in the public interest to keep kids in school and provide an element of stability. And I think that's the right thing to do, even if it is difficult, because frankly, I think these kids have paid a great burden of consequence, and it's about time someone speaks up for them. to ensure that they can just be kids. I mean, honestly, we had Halloween yesterday. I mean, to think that some of these kids in our elementary schools never had a normal Halloween. Like, we just have to make sure that they can have some real normal in their lives. And a strike on Friday and next week and potentially down the road is not a path to stability. It's not a path to recovery. It's not going to help these kids get back on track.
Mr. Lecce, I want to thank you for your time this morning. You were working morning show hours today. Everybody back at work at 5 a.m. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.